Hey everyone, welcome to r/Tales from Tech Support, where we get to have a little chuckle at the technologically disadvantaged. Like me. I'm Uncle Reddit, and have I got a story for you. Okay, I get the message from you guys now. I know I talk about the background noises all the time, and you guys don't seem to be able to pick them up, so I guess I'm doing a good enough job at cutting them out that it's a non-issue anymore. The day was lost, but I gained a worthy tech support companion. Today I was in need of some tech support. I work remotely with basic multi-laptop network set up to my laptop, which is acting as a local server for all our documents, through a switch. We have one printer and some basic specialized gear that needs to connect to its specialized software via USB port. The problems requiring tech support were, 1. My specialized software was no longer talking to its specialized device via the USB connection, and 2. We get connected to a new internet connection and my printer was no longer found on the network. I've dealt with my tech support company before, and due to my remote location and lack of phone reception, I emailed them to give them permission to remote into my device whenever they were free. At around 10 a.m., a support agent who I've dealt with before appeared on my device. He knows the drill with the specialized program, as this is not the first time I've asked him to reinstall it. He knows the situation with the connection. I'm hopeful for a good outcome. He begins reinstalling the program, while chatting in the little chat window through his connection. We get to talking about the device, the constant issues with it, etc. He completes the reinstall and it still doesn't work. He digs and we chat, and he reconfigures and we chat. I send him photos of the setup. I plug this here, I plug that there, the whole process for a long time. Finally, we find a simple setting, and I mean simple setting, on the relative surface of this specialized program which allows us to set the program to look for information coming through USB port COM3 specifically. And it's instantly fixed. Happy days. This has been a recurring issue for a long time. I was so excited and in the chat I said, "Get that man a pointy hat, he's a wizard." He laughed and said he will ask his boss for one. On to issue number 2, the relatively simple issue, reconfiguring the printer to the new network. This is not my first time with these machines, and I instantly texted him the printer's wired LAN IP address saying, "I assume you'll need this." He was impressed and said, "Well, if I'm a wizard, you must be Sage because you can see the future." From that moment on, our chat changed. He was the wizard and called me Sage. We spoke about how pointy our hats were, about how we were leveling up, and how his tech wizardry was strong enough for these issues. The wizard fixed the printer configuration. One final restart and he was going to be on his way to conjure up some wizardry for another needy traveler. As my Dell laptop turned back on from the restart, it did so with one of the 2 extra connected monitors not detected, specifically the one connected via the HDMI port and not the VGA port. The wizard returned thinking the day was won only to be taken back, as was I, at the dark sorcery that was upon us. No sage could have foreseen this sorcery which made no sense. Nothing we had done had anything to do with the monitors or their connections. We chatted and plugged things in and restarted things and chatted and plugged other things in and used some mana potions and grinded for more skills and chopped wood to level 99. We couldn't understand how my laptop had gained the ability to print and immediately lost the ability to HDMI port. The wizard reached deeper into his bag of holding and began updating the drivers. He updated Windows, he updated the Dell settings, he updated the Intel graphics card. He reached so deep he updated the BIOS. We could feel the mana flowing through us as he said, "Sage, this should work after we restart." I replied, "So we must be separated for this final battle. See you after the restart." I restarted the laptop for what seemed like an eternity. But it did not fix the issue. We thought we were building up to the final battle, but we were being beaten by a mini-boss. The only one that can save us now was Gandalf the White, I said as I lost all hope. Gandalf and I go way back, but he's retired now, he replied. As we agreed, that's probably why this level of sorcery was allowed to happen in the world. "I have one final idea, Sage," says the wizard as he consulted his boss. The Archmage, after over 5 hours on this treacherous adventure with me, when all seemed exhausted and lost, let's uninstall that specialized program we fixed before. Defeated, I agree. But this sorcery was too strong for us. My laptop still doesn't want a HDMI. Just no HDMI capabilities present anymore, with no warning. We part ways at the close of business. We have used all of our potions. We have attempted a raid on a boss we were not prepared for. We did not level up, we ran away, and the day was lost. This has been the funniest client chat ever, Sage. Keep me posted if you ever figure out what happened to that third screen," he said to me at the end, and we closed the chat. The day was lost. I lost the screen. I uninstalled a necessary program, but I gained a printer and a worthy companion, and we both know our journey is not over. The end. I feel like I should be tucking you guys in now the way that was written. Let me know down in the comments, any ideas what was going on with this guy's setup? My printer stopped working while printing. Some facepalm-worthy interaction between me, a tech support worker, and user. I got a call from user and she complains that her printer stopped working mid-printing and she needs help. User: I've already checked the network cable. It must be broken. It's flawed. Me: Okay, it's an old cable. It could possibly have failed if its screening and shield is too flawed. Let me check the network status. Check the connectivity. The link is down. Printer was up just a few minutes ago. Well, maybe the cable really failed. Me: It seems like it's really broken. Your printer is not visible in the network anymore, but just to be sure, is it a white cable with yellow endings? We're using special cables in this building with cable sharing standard. Really bad stuff, but needed. User: Yes, that's the right cable. I also didn't change anything, but since I thought it's broken, I disconnected the cable from the network outlet in the wall. Me: Sigh. Could you please reconnect the cable wiring? You're also not allowed to change anything there. Please don't do that anymore. User: Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, I'll connect it. The printer came up immediately again. Ping worked, so it's not a network problem. I reset the interface just in case and tell the user about it. I installed the printer at my PC and printed a test page. Me: I just told the printer to print a status page. Does anything happen? Like the printer warming up, or does the screen or LED start flashing? User: No, nothing. It doesn't print. The screen says still paper jam. Please remove. Oh my god. The big bang I heard on the telephone must be my head, which slammed against my desk. I breathed calmly and told her what the situation and how to deal with the paper jam. It came up working after that. Should have thought of that immediately after she told me it stopped mid-printing. Too long didn't read. Printer has a paper jam. User thinks it's a network problem and disconnected the printer from the network and complains that she can't print anything. In my house, in my house, my wife has this ongoing battle with our wireless printer on our network. The kids can print from their Chromebooks. Everybody in the house can print from their cell phones. But for some reason, my wife's computer, her laptop, always either loses connection with the printer, not with the network, just with the printer. Like, she sends a command and it's always busy, it's this or that. I've tried uninstalling all the printers and everything from there and clearing everything out, and it still just doesn't. It never works, and I don't know if it's something she's changing. When I'm not looking, I can never figure it out. That's not how electronic bill pay works, ma'am. So this is a real flashback, circa 2005, at the height of dial-up and the rise of broadband. I worked for a local ISP as a tech support agent. We provided all kinds of service to our customers, as most small ISPs did, to win customers away from the big guys like AOL. One of those services was selling and servicing computers. Anyway, this lovely customer, a young 80-year-old woman, let's call her Mrs. Robinson, who was one of our dial-up customers, purchased one of these systems from us. She told me the day she paid for it that she was so excited and that her grandson would be teaching her how to use the system, and she planned to use this to pay her bills. Fast forward 3 months. I'm downstairs in the customer service center flirting with the cute Australian girl who worked there when I see this sweet little old lady angrily slamming the computer she just purchased into a folding cart, and she headed for the door. I met her at the door, opening it for her, and greeted her. "Hi, Mrs. Robinson, let me help with that." She shoves past me and into the customer service area. Clearly sensing she was incredibly angry about something, I followed her in and asked what was wrong. "I just got this effing shutoff notice from the power company," she shouted as she slammed the shutoff notice down on the counter. "I bought this POS to pay bills electronically, and this is what I get? I demand a refund, and I demand you contact the power company immediately and inform them that this was your fault." I immediately apologized just to get her blood pressure to lower. "Mrs. Robinson, let me take a look at your computer," I said as I unloaded it from her folding cart. She agreed, and I took the system behind the wall to the cash register area in the customer service offices. I go to plug it in and hook it to a monitor that was back there when I noticed something. A small sliver of paper sticking out from the 3.5-inch floppy drive. Curious, I grabbed a pair of tweezers and I opened up the flap on the disk drive and proceeded to pull out 3 neatly folded checks made payable to the local electric company. I had to close the door to the register area. I started laughing immediately. After a few minutes, I composed myself and walked out, PC and checks in hand. Mrs. Robinson, I'm sorry this has been so frustrating for you, but the issue is that this isn't how electronic payments work. I go on to explain the process, and she apologized profusely. That cute Australian girl called the power company for her and explained the situation, and they even waived her late fees. She swore to never pay bills online again. Oh my god, that's funny. That's even better than the old cup holder thing. It did it before. Why can't it do it now? Hello everyone, Printer Network Technician here. Here's a saying. It did it before, why can't it do it now? Always gives me a headache as before was never supposed to happen in the first place. An example of a call that I got today. Me. Good morning, I got an email that said you're having a problem scanning to email and faxing, correct? Customer. Yeah, the machine's saying it isn't allowed to scan this. Now, as a bit of background, when a machine says that it isn't allowed to scan something, that means a few things. Either someone is trying to copy or scan cash at full size and in color. Me. That's odd. You should only be getting that error if you're scanning money. Customer. I am scanning money. Pause for my 2 brain cells to catch up with what I just heard. Me. You're scanning money? Customer. Yes, I am. I scan checks and cash for accountability. Me. Well, you aren't supposed to scan cash on the copier. It isn't supposed to do that. Customer. It did it before. Why can't it do it now? Me. It was never supposed to do that. Customer. Why not? It did it before. Me. 'Cause it's illegal. This is where they pause for a bit to realize that, copying money is probably illegal. Customer. I guess that makes sense. Me. Is there anything else I can help you with? Customer. Can you make it work the way it did before? It did it before. Why can't the machine do it now? Me. No, ma'am. I cannot set your machine up to scan cash. It's illegal. Click. What a Monday. Put in notes, gave my supervisor a heads up on the call, and pushed through the day. So that's got me wondering, how is it doing it before and then all of a sudden it's not doing it now? The only thing I can figure is there was some exception in the software or firmware somewhere, and the firmware got updated and patched it and caught the issue, and now she can't do it. I don't know. But yeah, here in the US, it's really not... You can copy money, but it has to be not to scale and not color. And really, it's kind of pointless copying cash anyway, but whatever. The enemy's within. But it was a PDF. By virtue of real projects taking more and more of my time, I'm getting fewer and fewer tickets actually directed at me, which is good for me, at least. Not so much for the customers, but that's perhaps a story for another time. Today we're talking about understanding what a file is. Faxing is still a thing in the medical industry, and while I agree that faxes are more secure than emails for many reasons, most fax services now have emails on the inbound and outbound sides of things, completely defeating the purpose of using a fax. My turn-up team is attempting to get a customer up and running with their fax, and while my first criticism is them not testing it themselves, stretching a 10-minute troubleshooting session into 4 days of email back and forth, they did manage to figure out that yes, indeed, their configuration of the fax service for this customer worked. Generally, I don't know when this happens. I'm not in that department. But I share the first name with the manager of that department. Someone decides to misspell the manager's name and suddenly, I'm on the notification list. Now this is where things get weird. Even after confirming functionality, the customer faxes were coming back as can't be processed. The first attempts to get the fax resulted in them sending us blank PDFs with headers on them. Cue same sounding manager calling me. Hey Nero, is an encrypted PDF a PDF? In this case, because the customer is trying to be a good medical company, they're sending encrypted PDFs to the fax server. The fax server doesn't know what an encrypted PDF is beyond being not a PDF it can read, so it's tossing it back. Customer is losing their mind because it's a PDF. Fax server is going, no it ain't. My support reps just figured this out 4 days later. Remember folks, once you encapsulate a file, it's no longer the file you started with, at least to everything else that handles it. I should write a few more of these. I've got like years worth of vendor incompetency to share. Yep, sounds like it might be time for some lessons on how to encrypt and send and fax and email and whatever. Surround sound system is not a computer. I'd been contracting as a data center engineer for about 6 months. It was a Thursday morning and we have to go to the office for our monthly team meeting, so I was there early and waited around for everyone to turn up. One of my colleagues turns up. Let's call him Buddy. "Hi, Buddy. How was your weekend?" I asked. "Not good." "Why's that?" "My surround sound audio device is broken. It won't turn on." "So why don't you fix it? You're an IT guy." "Dude, a surround sound system is not a computer." "Well, it's like a computer with a small screen but without a keyboard, so you should be able to fix it." "It's not a computer and it's going to cost me $400 to replace it." "I don't see why you can't fix it. Just get a soldering iron and a voltmeter," I said. The boss was at his desk and intrigued by the conversation, so he comes over. "Well, if it is that simple, then why don't you fix it?" says the boss. "Okay then. Buddy, bring it in and I'll have a go." So Buddy brought in the device the next day. I got on the internet and had a search for the device, and it's not there. However, there were similar models with power issues. So I'm pulling out cables and working my way down the layer after layer until I finally got to this little ceramic capacitor. Take it to the hardware shop and got a replacement for $3. Soldered it all up. Pressed on the button and boom, it powered up and worked. Monday I take it back to the office. "Hi, Buddy. Here it is, all fixed." "Awesome, you are the man. How much do I owe you?" "No charge. You can get me a fruit juice from the canteen and we'll call it quits." Two things. One, yeah, electronics are kind of electronics. If you're good at, working on circuit boards and things like that and soldering, you should be able to go through it and fix it with information that's on the web. But still, that sounds like a pain in the butt to track down. And two, you are a good friend / coworker for doing all that and not even charging the guy more than a fruit juice. Once upon a time, I got a death threat while working at. Years ago, I worked at a call center for the top or near the top wireless carrier. Let's call them Horizon for this. I had just come out of training and was in my probationary period. As a trainee, you were taking limited calls. Most of the time, everything was resolved by simply rebooting the phone. So it was a Friday evening, and I was in a training area. I was having a good night as most calls were under 3 minutes. Our AHT, average handling time, was to be under 3 minutes for standard. My next call goes like this. "Me, thank you for calling Horizon Wireless. My name is Alan476. How may I help you today?" AHC, a-hole customer. "Make him stop calling." Me, "I'm sorry, sir. May I get the first and last name on the account?" AHC, "No, I'm not giving you that. You either make him stop calling or else." Me, "Sir, unless you verify the information, I can't do anything for you. I can't even acknowledge that the person's account exists. Now, can you please give me your name and PIN code on the account?" AHC, "No, I will not. You either stop him from calling my daughter or I'll blow up your building. I already know where your call center is. This creep keeps calling my daughter, who's only 18. She's not dating until she's 25. Now you do something about it or you're a dead man." Me, recites the standard text for threat of bodily harm or explosives. "Now, sir, as a courtesy, I will give you this one chance to cooperate and let me help you." AHC, "I will not give you that information. If you don't do it right now, I'll hunt you down and kill you tonight. I will also blow up the building just to get the attention of someone who cares." I raise my help paddle. My shift coach comes over and asks what's going on. I tell him death threat and explosives threat. He immediately takes my headset and comes on with the customer. AC, awesome coach. "Sir, what seems to be the problem?" AHC, "You tell that idiot of a rep to do what I want done or all of you are going to pay for it." AC, "Sir, since you now have threatened bodily harm and the lives of all those in the building, I'm now going to terminate this call and you will be contacted by your local authorities and Horizon's security department." The call ended. I was allowed to go outside for a few minutes to cool off. Afterwards, I had to go with my coach to the head of all inbound calls. We review the call, and I then get my first write-up. I should have raised my red paddle once he said it the first time. The write-up will officially disappear after 3 months since I'm on probation. 4 months later, I'm served a subpoena while at work. I have to go to court to testify. I have to spend the duration of the trial in the courtroom. They called me once and that was it. Yes, he was found guilty and sentenced to 1 year in jail. Nothing else exciting. I'm not sure why certain people think that, threatening bodily harm or blowing something up is going to get the results that they want. How do they not understand that legally they are screwed once they do that? The SD card won't write. I'm the family IT and arguably the most knowledgeable about technology in my family. The only other person with a similar amount of experience would be my dad, but he's more old school in his skill set. This day in particular, he was off doing the stuff he loves to do that isn't technology specifically, more to do with music and mixing. I was in the middle of reading about databases and researching sysadmin topics when I picked up the phone and got the traditional greeting. The rest of the call went about as follows, with some paraphrasing. Me equals me, duh. Dad equals father dearest. Me. Alright, so what's the issue? Is it your laptop? Dad. Actually, can you tell me why I can't write to this SD card? I took a moment to process the possible problems that relate to the SD cards I've learned about thus far. I formulated a table and chart and everything in my head, ready to assist. Alright, so diagnose. Me. So you can read from the SD card? Dad. Yes, when I put it into the nondescript music equipment, it puts a file on it, but I can't edit it, add any more or anything. Me. I'm pretty sure I know what it is already. You can't write anything to it? Would you remove the SD card from the computer for a moment? I reclined into my chair a bit as Dad removes the SD card from his computer. All that mental calculation was put to the side as I described in plain English what to do. Me. See that switch on the side of the SD card? Dad. It's a micro SD, a micro inside of one of those converters. Me. Alright, I had a feeling. Please flick that switch to the other side. A minute passes as he tried it again with the switch flipped. Me. Is it working now? Dad gives me a defeated yup. There's no markings on most of the micro SD to SD card converters to show there's a built-in lock. We finished the call and I started laughing. Who would have thought it would be the curse of the floppy disk that would beat my old man? Well, this isn't about SD cards, but during this recording, I kept getting a noise in my headphones. It wasn't just my headphones, it was actually coming through into the audio recording. I could see it on the screen. It was a staticky interference sound, and I couldn't figure it out. Well, forever, I've had my phone, every recording, I've got my phone propped up behind my laptop so I could see if somebody calls or texts while I'm in the middle of recording because I have the sound turned off. It never dawned on me that the interference was coming from the cell phone doing, it's searching and doing things. When it rang, it would interfere. If I answered in the middle of recording, that's when I finally noticed that I answered a call in the middle of this recording, and there was the sound. Just like when cell phones used to interfere with car stereos long time ago. Hey guys, thanks for hanging out with me today. If you've enjoyed this content, would you do me a favor? Would you consider giving this video a like, subscribing to the channel, and maybe click that little bell icon so you don't miss the fat guy with the beard telling you stories. See ya!